we're live. And I almost just burst out laughing because just as I said, and we're live, Ev showed up and she's sideways. And we are live, but Ev is sideways, and now she is right side up. And it is Friday, December 27th, 2024, the year of our Lord, who was born only 2 days ago. And of course, I mean Sol Invictus. It is 8:00 a.m. The sun is not shining. It's cloudy as a cloudy day. The birds maybe are chirping, but I'm not sure I would know. But it is now there's a sideways Ev and a right side up Ev. Now there are two right side up Evs next to each other. It's very impressive. It's going to be a great effing day. And I just wrote to John Roush to tell him that we needed to do an after action report on my abandonment of the F-bomb on the show, to see if he now finds this more inclusive, to see if he feels more welcome. So we're going to see if John Roush shows up to weigh in on whether the show.
Wow, I could tell him my story.
Now, yes, now that the F-bomb has been not banned from the show, but banned from my speech on the show. Also, we have a very important update. Notice that Holly Berkley Fletcher's tagline says current CIA officer. We are changing that to former CIA officer right here live on the show. Holly, we need, speaking of after action reports, we need an after action report on your last day at work after outing yourself on the show. Did anybody at the America's Most Vaunted Spy Agency even notice?
No. The wait, that I left or that I was outed myself on the show?
Yeah, that you outed yourself, that you were.
No, nobody noticed. Somehow nobody cared. And honestly, they didn't, I don't know if they really even care that I left, but that's fine. It's for the best.
So let me get this straight. America's Most Vaunted Spy Agency had an operative. We're going to call you an operative because we can't call you an agent because you were an officer. But we can't call you an officer. Well, we could.
You could call me an analyst. That would be actually accurate.
But that doesn't sound badass in the sense of like,
because it's not
an analyst. That's like saying a Brookings bookworm or something. All right, so a CIA operative outs herself, and nobody at the agency even notices or cares.
Yeah, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so. But it was a fine day. I went in, I moved all my stuff to my car. Yeah, they had a party for me earlier in the week. Oh, update. The things that, remember I was curious, like, what would people say about me at my party?
Yeah.
People actually like me. It was shocking.
You say that as though it's improbable.
And even the manager, I have him. Okay, so this might be surprising. When I was young, I was easy to manage. I was like eager to please, and I had been raised by authoritarian parents, and I was like really a dream, super eager beaver. But the older I get, the harder I am to manage, which is why I really needed to quit a job where I had someone who needed to manage me. So anyway, my managers the last few years in particular have not had it easy. I'm really a nightmare, frankly, because I say whatever I think, and I tell the younger people the things that I shouldn't tell them. And yeah, so but even the manager had nice things to say about me, but I think it was because
it wasn't because you're leaving. It wasn't like,
I think it was because
I can handle this for one more for
I
the
think it
length
was
of
because
one
I was
speech.
leaving. I think
Yeah.
she's happy I was leaving, and she's a nice person, just to be clear. She's happy I was leaving, but also at the party, I was again surrounded by some people who seemed to hold me in like a cult leader type of esteem,
I
and
think you could totally run a cult,
I
Holly.
think that she
You
was
have some
afraid.
experience.
I do. I do. Anyway, I think she was afraid there would be like a revolt of some kind if she said bad things about me. I think
Wow.
the younger people would rise up against her. So,
And is that right?
what, that they would?
Have
Or
you
that I have a
actually
cult?
trained a cadre of warrior young people at the CIA?
I have trained a cadre. In fact, my last branch chief, who does not who did not write my performance review because I'm a senior analyst, so like the next level up. But anyway, he was the chief of my branch that I sat in. He was my student like 10 years ago, and when I
Wow.
taught in the training programs, and he's an excellent manager, and so I did kind of train the next generation of people, and or help train, not all of them, but anyway, and they seemed to like me, which is, at least they put on a good show. So it was very lovely and moving. And then some of them walked me out the door, and we all cried, and then I left.
Wow. So
I turned my badge in.
there
It's
were
very
actual
dramatic.
tears. There were tears shed.
Oh yeah, yeah. A few times the last week, but yeah. But it's good. It's good. I feel
But
good.
nobody noticed that you were on what is in fact a revolution in morning television.
Not that day, but someone, I forget who it was, someone did mention to me this show.
Okay, so
and that I was on it generally.
Here's what I want to know. If you had gone on Morning Joe, which is not a revolution in morning television, it's kind of the ancien regime of morning television. See what I did there, Ev?
Yes.
No, okay, just checking.
It was, the pronunciation was remarkable.
Oh, thank you. I've been working on my French pronunciation.
I took French, Ev. I should bring out my French, Ev.
You should bring out your Swahili.
Oh, well, I can do that easily. The French would be a bigger challenge.
I realized the other day that I was actively studying 6 different languages, which is not an effective way to learn any language.
Although no, but are you not claiming that it's helpful, at least for the Romanian languages, to study them all at the same time?
Yeah, so I do think it's a good way to learn Romance languages, is just to study them all at the same time. Particularly if you aspire only to read them, not to speak them. I have very little reason to speak Italian. I mean, not none, but
does
very
anybody
little.
have a reason to speak Italian? Sorry.
Well, Italians do.
But, we're all it's becoming a global community. Like, anyway.
I think,
most people speak
but
English.
I have lots of reason to read Italian social media or to, read libretti. There are reasons you would want Italian. So if you are studying French, there's no reason not to also be studying Spanish and Italian, and I assume Portuguese and Romanian, although I have not been studying any of those.
Really? They're close?
Portuguese and Spanish are very close.
No, you said Romanian, though. You said Portuguese.
Romanian is very close to Italian.
Oh, to Italian. I thought you meant to Portuguese. I was like, well,
no, Romanian and Italian are very close, though Romanian has a lot of Slavic words thrown in, but linguistically it's very close to both modern Italian and what's called awesomely vulgar Latin. And I aspire to speak vulgar Latin.
My daughter speaks a lot of Latin, but she takes Latin. She went to Latin camp this summer at Virginia Governor's School, and she spoke Latin for like a whole month. Not all Latin, but anyway. Well, in Swahili, there are very few Portuguese words because of Swahili is a trade language, as you probably know. It's about 30% Arab. It is, and then the rest is a mix of mainly Bantu, the Bantu group of languages, which are African languages. And then there's a few Portuguese, because the Portuguese were along the Swahili coast as well during that time. And then my favorite, though, is that there are English words incorporated, but they're basically, they're spelled phonetically the way like a Kenyan would say them. So like driver in English is spelled Dereva and is said dereva, because that's how they would say it. Computer is spelled Komp Pyuta and is said computer.
Computer.
Yeah. So there's daktari is doctor.
It's very Japanese.
It's very phonetic. Everything's very phonetic because it wasn't a written language for a very long time. And then I think missionaries, of course, the missionaries wrote it down. There's always missionaries involved. And they wrote it they used a Roman alphabet. Thank you very much. I don't have to learn the Arab alphabet. I don't do other alphabets, just as a rule. Like if a language has another alphabet, that's a no-go for me. Not doing that.
Other alphabets.
Okay, well, you do you, Ben. I'm not doing I'm too old for that. But so they wrote it in Roman alphabet and they wrote it very phonetically, and it's just a dream. So,
Antti, when did Finland adopt the Roman alphabet? And did it ever have a writing system of that was not Roman?
Well, I mean, basically when there was a period of crusades to Finland, or what now can be called Finland, and that was I think the first crusades were in the 8th century, and then there were a couple of others leading up to the point where actually the Swedes basically took control of the 3 main tribal areas of Finland in the early Middle Ages, and then the most eastern parts were taken over first by Novgorod, and after that by Muscovy.
And so, excellent to call it Muscovy. I think we
historically accurate.
Historically accurate in context, but it's also awesome to refer to modern Russia as Muscovy.
I like it. I like it a lot.
So basically, you guys have been writing with the Roman alphabet since you've been writing. There is no Proto-Finnish alphabet.
I mean, as far as I can recall from studying early Finnish history, no. I mean, there are cave drawings, and there's cultural heritage that's been passed down in a spoken form for a very long time, especially in areas that are more remote. And there was an effort in the early and middle 19th centuries, and slightly even before that, to actually collect this sort of spoken heritage before it was lost. And but yeah, I mean, when we're concerned with the written language, I think what you stated is accurate.
Interesting. All right, what's on your mind this morning? I can only guess.
I just have one comment for Antti.
Yeah.
I actually dated a Finn in high school. My boyfriend in Kenya. It's a very complicated society. I dated a Finnish guy my senior year of high school at this school in Kenya, and he was a junior and I was a senior, and I was graduating, and I kind of wanted to stay together, and he was just like a very brutally realistic person. Maybe all Finns are like that. I don't know. I'm sure there's only one personality in Finland, but he actually told me, he's like, what would be the plan? Like, when I graduate, I'm going to Finland. Are you going to come to Finland? I'm like, sure, I'll come to Finland. He's like, Finnish is like the most difficult language in the world to learn. And I was like, what? I can learn Finnish. He's like, no, I've been in French class with you and you're not good at languages. and you're not going to be able to learn this language. And I was like, well, we could speak French. He's like, no, if you're coming to Finland, you have to speak Finnish. And then he showed
That is
me.
not true, by the way.
Well,
I have
anyway,
never,
I think he just wanted to get rid of
been
me.
to a country
Obviously, he wanted to
that
get
is
rid of me.
more friendly to people who don't speak the language.
Well,
than
this was
Finland.
a long time ago, Ben. Maybe they've gotten nicer. But anyway, also, I think he just wanted to get rid of me. But then he showed me like some word. I was like, okay, well, teach me some words. Like, let's see if I can do this. And he like whipped out these words, like the word for makeup in Finland is like 2 feet long. And then there's like a word for like co-pilot. And it's like 500 letters long. And he's like, see, how would you try to say it? I'm like, I don't know.
Before you apply any of the 18 case endings to it.
And then there's little like circles over some of the things.
Yeah,
and so I was like,
sure.
okay then.
Auntie's like,
I was like, I guess we have
no
to
idea
break
what
up.
they're talking about.
I was like, I guess we have to break up. So anyway.
Well,
and so you married Kevin.
Well, I married someone else first, and then I got divorced, and then I married Kevin.
See, it all worked out.
Yeah, no, I was. Anyway, I've just lived a completely flawless life, Ben. So,
can I respond to that, Holly?
Please respond.
So I would say that there is a realism to the brutal honesty that your school friend did say, but I think there's also like every person is different, but in my estimation, not knowing nothing absolutely whatever about the nature of how you were involved, is that simply the depth of emotion, and it just wasn't enough. If love conquers all, I mean, that's my take on it. So there was clearly not enough love involved.
Okay.
It would have been easy to learn Finnish. And
wow, like a dagger. Like 30
with
years later,
with enough motivation, I mean, Finnish is, it's gonna be easy with enough motivation.
Well, I don't know what I would have done in Finland.
This makes me want to add Finnish to my Duolingo just to see if I put myself in the shoes of love-smitten 17-year-old Holly, could I motivate myself to learn Finnish?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
maybe I'll learn it too, and then like when Kevin dies, I'll go find this guy and see how that goes. I'll like show. It'd be like Love Actually, when he learned. Which anyway, not a realistic storyline, but the writer guy, and he hires the Portuguese woman. Have you seen this movie? Has anyone seen this movie? Okay, so then he learns Portuguese. He falls in love with her, but they can't communicate. So then he learn, and then he shows up like blah 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 blah, and then they're like fall in love and everything. So I could do that. It could be like a senior citizen Finnish version of that, because I'll be like 85. So
yeah, and a Finnish version of Colin Firth too, presumably. Yeah.
So what's on your mind, Antti?
Well, first I would like to reply to what you said about Finland being very accommodating towards English-speaking people and German-speaking or French or whatever. Is that's true if you're only visiting, but if you want to be gainfully employed, in most cases you do need some sort of competency in either Finnish or Swedish, preferably Finnish.
But isn't that's perfectly reasonable?
I mean, it is. But
like, if you want to be gainfully employed here, you need some competency in English. The idea that the idea that you say that as though it's an eccentricity of.
I'm doing a podcast, so
I mean,
I can't hear you.
I'm in. I'm just shocked that you can walk around the streets of Helsinki and act like everybody will speak English, and it's true. That's not true very many places outside of Northern Europe. It's true of Denmark, it's true of Norway, it's true of Sweden. Although it's more true of Finland. People's English tends to be superb, whereas it's not true of Germany.
No,
It's not
no.
true of. It's true of Holland.
Yeah.
But there's something remarkable about the desire, the executed desire to educate everybody in multiple languages, such that you can really just show up not speaking a word of the local language and you can get by just fine. And it actually puts visitors in a very weird position, because I sort of, as a general matter, when I'm traveling abroad, I don't like to assume that people will speak English. It seems to me very presumptuous. But in Finland, you can perfectly well do it. And it's actually a little bit insulting to ask, do you speak English? Because the answer is, duh, I speak it probably better than you do. And so I'm in awe of it, just as a kind of an educational, the average English proficiency in Finland, to just use present, is dramatically better than the average English proficiency in French Canada, or the average French, much less the average French proficiency in English Canada, which is non-existent.
Yeah.
And so, 20% of the United States is native Spanish speaking, and that's the 20% of the United States that speaks Spanish, and so like it's an incredible accomplishment. And I don't
know. Like so many countries, I don't, like in Africa too, like they just seem to they just seem to oh yeah, I speak English, I speak Swahili, I speak my mother tongue, I speak this other tribe's language a bit because it's kind of close. And I'm like, how do you do that? I don't understand how people do languages like that.
Yeah, and particularly now that I'm studying a bunch of languages, I really don't understand it.
I get them all
each
mixed
one
up.
takes a lot of acquisition, and maybe that's because I'm 55, not 5, but I think it's amazing.
Yeah. And I get them all mixed up in my, French. I took French a long time ago. I went to France, Ev, and I started mixing French with Swahili. It was so funny.
You created your own Creole.
I did. It was Frahili.
But Antti, I was wondering, do you have a fear in the population that Finnish will get lost? This is definitely the reason why so many French Canadians don't speak better English, because they want to protect the language. But I mean, French is way less endangered than Finnish might be, and that doesn't seem to be a fear that you're having.
I mean, there is, I think one aspect is that the more sort of on the academic side, there is some fear that the Finnish language can't really be called pure because it's constantly sucking in influences from all over. But the sort of using more English terminology within the Finnish language, that is a concern among certain academic circles. That's true. But I think in Finland, the actual concern among native speakers is more with the Swedish-speaking Finnish side, because they need to be able to make sure that they actually can get services in Swedish and not only in Finnish. So that's why there is I think a quite sizable section of this minority that always insists on getting service in Swedish, and that there's also
familiar,
a policy.
It does. It does.
Weird. Really.
But do you have so if I remember correctly, Swedish is also taught in school, right?
Yeah.
And are people more worried about learning Swedish than learning English or learning Spanish? Or is it a different relationship with learning this new language, this other language that is kind of in tension and that you're fighting to preserve, one or the other?
Well, there's a regional spread to that. because if you're in the more western and southern part of Finland, where there's actually a Swedish-speaking minority, there is actually more cause to learn it than if you go to eastern Finland, where actually before this current kerfuffle, you would presumably need Russian more than you would need Swedish. And
the present kerfuffle, the war in Russia, that's how you describe it.
Pleasantness.
Yeah.
Yes. We should talk about that boat too, Antti.
That's, I think, why Antti is actually here.
Yeah.
Could be.
Oh, well, we should talk about that. Although I did bring the cactus bin, which repeats everything that you say, and we could get it to speak other languages, many languages.
Yeah, maybe it should speak Finnish.
Well, okay. Well, I need to take off my earphones if that's the case, so the cactus can hear Antti. Because
you don't think my Finnish is going to be attractive to the cactus?
No, it's just the sound is through my hair. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, we can't hear you now.
No.
Now
we can.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Does that mean that we're not going to have a track for... Yeah, why don't you refresh and let's see if we can... Oh.
That was probably the FSB, right?
I assume so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm back now with the cactus. This is the cactus.
All right, let's do it.
This was an impulse purchase because of my poor planning. I didn't have enough presents for my son, so I made the colossal mistake of going to Walmart on the December 23rd here in Arkansas. And it was like so stressful. I was like about to have a panic attack. There were so many people and there's just so much stuff that I just started like randomly grabbing stuff. And so that included this cactus. And I thought it said dancing cactus. I thought it just danced. And I thought that would be fun. But instead, it repeats everything you say in a very annoying voice. Yeah.
What if you speak across time and space? So what if you speak in Finnish?
No jumalauta. That was slightly expletive, to be honest.
Do some French, I'll do Swahili, and then we'll shut down the cactus because it's really annoying.
Oui, vrai. Ouais, je peux voir comment ça peut être vrai. Vraiment agaçant. Oh, wow.
Okay, I will say something. Hivyo and divyo alivyo. Kwaheri.
All right, the cactus, I have to say, is awesome.
The cactus has spoken.
I love the cactus.
I'm impressed.
All right, so Antti,
new co-host.
What's on your mind?
New co-host.
I can't imagine why you would be wanting. This is one of those occasions when Finland is actually in the news in a big way.
Yeah. So there was an actual police and shall we say pseudo-military operation to basically a special military operation to take control of a cargo ship that was running dark in the Baltic Sea, and just happened to stop by on a location that corresponded with a certain shall we say energy transference related cable connection. And lo and behold, there was a disruption to that undersea cable. And the Finnish authorities decided that, we're not going to take the shit anymore, and just launched 2 helicopters and took control of the ship. And then basically drove it or sailed it or whatever the, marine terminology is.
Commandeered, I believe,
yes.
is the appropriate nautical term for it.
Commandeered,
but
yes,
Ev is the sailor here, so she would know.
Yeah, so we commandeered the ship and took it to a Finnish port, and there is now an undergoing investigation as to what in the Sam hell the ship was doing.
So I will say that for those who are interested in the security issues surrounding undersea cables, of which there are many, Lawfare is the unrivaled center of serious discussion of undersea cables, at least in the public domain. We have an intrepid troupe of true nerds who write about undersea cables even when they are decidedly uncool. And
What's a decidedly uncool undersea cable?
Hey,
which one? Like,
the question is, what is a cool undersea cable?
well, every now and then, like this weekend, they become cool.
Oh.
But it's most of the time, if you write about undersea cables, you are writing for an audience of like 6 people who are as nerdy as you. And there's really only one place to publish good material on undersea cables, and it is Lawfare. And so I'm just going to, as a preliminary matter, I didn't know we were discussing this, or I would have teed it up. But let's see if we were to hang on. We're gonna share my screen here and show you just how much material there is on Lawfare. This was Antti. Verify for me that this is unscripted, right? We did not prepare this. Okay, look.
Wow.
This is Lawfare on undersea cables.
It's impressive.
Yeah, we do a lot of work.
Stop the scuba guys with the things. Like, so do they, scuba guys go down in there? And so this is what I don't understand. There's like, okay, I don't understand anything about technology, period. But like the
Think
undersea cables,
a boat
they're
with
under
a giant scissors.
Is that, they're like under the sea? Do they run like all the way across the ocean, like in the deep sea?
Yeah.
But what happens if there's like something needed down beyond like where you can go? And how does it get down there?
Go ahead, Antti.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm by no means an expert at causing problems to undersea cables, though I'm gonna pretend I'm one right now. Is one
because he's Finnish and Finns.
Yeah, of course.
This week know a great deal about undersea cables.
Yeah. So this is the panel that usually comes together to discuss undersea cables and disrupting them. I think the basic method that you do it, as far as can be ascertained from public records, is that you drag something very heavy on the seabed, and then it snags the cable, causes damage to it, disrupts it, and whatsoever. So actually,
and when you need to repair it, you drop something, you hook it, and you haul it up.
Yeah, and then there's a specialized ship for that has this huge. Okay, my English is for once failing me.
Finnish is fine. I'll translate.
Yeah, it basically reels the damaged cable in, and somehow magic happens, and they replace it with a functional cable.
Yeah,
that was an engineering response.
It sounds really hard. It sounds like a lot of work.
Well, it is a lot of work, but here's the thing. An undersea cable can carry enormously more because they're fiber optic. They can carry enormously more data than you can wirelessly. So they're a huge pain in the ass, but it's something like 90% plus of global internet traffic is done by undersea cable, not by bouncing shit off of satellites.
And also, I think the main concern here, they did disrupt also communications cables too, but I think the energy transfer cable was the more impactful here, at least to Estonia. There was apparently no disruption to Finnish power generation or transference, but the Estonian power transparency was actually affected.
Yeah,
to a
and
degree.
just to take it out of the realm of undersea cables for a minute and to focus it instead on the Russia great power conflict stuff. I think the way to understand this is Russia putting pressure on on one of the most exposed NATO allies right in advance of Trump taking office again. And so it's a way of saying to the Biden administration, there's nothing you can do, you're going out. And it's a way of saying to the Trump people, are you serious about this? And because if not, we'll start closing in right away. And if you are, you got to show it. And I think that's what's going on. Russia does not take Europe seriously. And so the idea that Europe might have its own response, which, of course, is a fact not in evidence, they treat Europe, at least as a security matter, as a creature of the United States. And so they're saying to the Trump people, do you care if we start cutting off Estonia? And obviously, I'll reserve my view of the Trump people, but that's a matter about which the Trump administration has been not entirely clear over the last few years. And so I think the way to think of it, if in great power terms, is just a probe to see whether Donald Trump gives a shit about Estonia.
I would say no. I would think the Russians would have learned from history not to mess with Finland, though. I would not mess with Finland.
Yeah, I think one aspect of this is that there was a similar incident before, and then it took the Finnish authorities 2 weeks to even begin an investigation. But in this case, they basically reacted almost like immediately, and they used like Black Hawk Down style, choppers to get the ship, tow it to shore, commandeer it, and then begin an investigation right then and there.
And what happened to the crew of the ship? Are they in
Detained.
Finnish custody?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're in. As far as I know, it hasn't been specified how they are being detained, if it's aboard ship or by the Finnish authorities on shore, but they are being detained, yeah.
And how big a deal is this in Finland? Is this like wall-to-wall news coverage, or is this between Eurovision stuff?
Well, it's it's not the Eurovision season, then you should know that.
I don't know. When I was in Israel, there was a lot of news about Slovenia trying to get Israel banned from Eurovision. So that was the big news. Eurovision has
competes in Eurovision?
Yes.
Wow.
Ask me. That's about the only thing I know about Eurovision. But
how do you get in Eurovision if you're not in Europe?
I don't know.
Please don't start that. Please, okay. We're going to be there forever.
The whole show on Eurovision. So.
I mean, I think, Azerbaijan is in Eurovision too. And, so it's whatever. But I think the thing is that it's definitely received its fair share of coverage. And I think one thing you can gauge the seriousness of which the Finnish authorities take this issue, that when there was an official press conference, it was like a wall-to-wall lineup of all the security officials, like from the military, from the Coast Guard, from the Border Protection Service, from the police and the Navy. If you can name an authority, it was basically there. So but I think I'm very pleased, both as someone who tries to follow national security related news, but also as a Finnish taxpayer and as a supporter of Ukraine, and the whole Western security infrastructure, is that we responded immediately and we sent a signal that we're not gonna, take this shit anymore.
No, it's super positive, and it's also important. Thomas isn't here, but I think it's important for Estonia to know that there's backup from, in the case of Finland. I mean, Finland is now a NATO ally, but that it's a capable NATO ally that isn't the United States. That's an important component of the security fabric. And isolated Estonia is in really tough shape with a bunch of countries, and even the uncertainty of U.S. backing. It's got a chance.
And I think it was sorry, just one tiny point. I think it was also important that the Estonian Navy actually sent a ship to patrol the waters above the second power transfer cable, very soon after this incident took place. And I they should be doing that constantly all throughout the Baltic Sea, and also the Norwegian coast, everywhere where there are vulnerable cables like that.
So, Ev, how big a deal is this in Canada? Is it getting saturation coverage in French?
Wall to wall. It's everywhere on that place, really. No, joking aside, Antti, is Ben's understanding of Europe as not a credible player is also shared in Finland?
Just to be clear, my view is not that Europe is not a credible player. It's that Russia doesn't think of Europe, qua Europe, as a credible player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it does think of Finland on the Finnish border as a credible player. And it takes certain Swedish capabilities, at least it should, fairly seriously. But it doesn't think of, when it thinks of Estonia, it thinks of the protection system being NATO, not being, which means the United States to it, not being Europe as a security entity.
And is it the first time that Russia attacks Finland since it joined NATO?
Well, I mean, there's been instances of water infrastructure being attacked deliberately and sabotaged, and I think there's GPS what's the term, interference that's been going on for quite some time. So there's been these hybrid operations ongoing for quite some time, and there was you could see that there was the intensity definitely picked up after Finland joined NATO. But I think to what Ben was saying, I think that's exactly correct, that Russia doesn't view that European nations themselves have any agency in national security matters. It's like we're going to do whatever the hell we please. And even if we're talking about Ukraine, it's like Ukraine doesn't have any agency in this Russian imperialistic view. It's US does something or it doesn't, but Ukraine is just we don't give a shit. And definitely the Baltic countries and the the Scandinavian countries, it's the same.
Although I think and Finland and Sweden may be differently situated from one another here. I do think the insistence on keeping Finland neutral for 70 years does suggest that Russia, or at least the Soviet Union, understood NATO membership as becoming a U.S. proxy, whereas as long as Finland was neutral, they could still make demands, right? It was important to them that Finland not join NATO.
Yeah, and let's not forget that before, the Russians could, and the Soviet Union before it, they could basically count on the fact that they could use Finlandization and soft power to keep in charge of anything that was relevant to their interest. They didn't need military power after well, and they realized that it's not going to work. But I mean, yeah, definitely.
So what? I mean, I have to say, I think the model of if you send a spy ship, to the Norwegian coast, we'll capture it and embarrass you. If you send a cutting cables ship to the Baltic Sea, we will capture it and embarrass you. I don't think that's a terrible model here. And I'm wondering how do you have any kind of sense of what the volume of this kind of traffic is?
I mean, from what I gather, usually when we're talking about these so-called shadow vessels, it's being referred to as a fleet. So it's not just one ship, and I think it's also like it's multifunctional. It's not just about cutting cables and causing disruption, whatever. They're using them to ship sanctions busting, crude oil and what have you, natural resources from Russia to whoever is willing to buy them. So there's at least the dual purpose. There could be other. I mean, they could use it for other type of smuggling too.
Well, happy hunting. May the new year. I wish we had sea shanties to sing about undersea cables, and most of the sea shanties, by the way, are about fish.
Or rum.
There should be more about smuggling oil and there's I guess we could repurpose the piracy ones. But good songs about hunting ships that are cutting undersea cables. May the new year be bountiful with Finnish ship captures and keep us up to date on them. And I am going to add Finnish to my Duolingo today.
I suggest
Excellent.
you look up the word for makeup first and then decide.
What is the word for makeup?
I don't know, but I remember it's like this long.
Well, I mean, just by if you're gonna apply makeup, that's like meikkaa.
Okay, that's not it. It was
That's
some
not
other word.
definitely. It's gotta be something. Yeah.
It was some other word.
I think you should do a Get Ready With Me video in Finnish. Ben.
Yes! Oh,
with
yeah.
Antti who's teaching you
I think maybe that's going to happen, but my Finnish is going to have to get a little better. We'd have to get Minna Olander involved as well.
Definitely.
Did you do another video? You release it?
I haven't released it yet because the sound is bad, and I need to do some work on the sound. But the Pete Hegseth video is forthcoming. It's all edited.
Gosh.
It just needs actually me to re-record the audio track and to sync it so that it doesn't look like this.
I think that's a perfect opportunity to have it in another language. Like it's so like when it's
you could
in movies. Like
so it looks
every
dubbed.
non-English speaking person, we're kind of used to this mismatch of lips and words. And it creates
Do you guys want to see and you can tell me whether to do should I premiere it here on?
Yeah.
Sure.
Of course.
All right, hang on. Let me pull it up. And you can tell me whether it needs to be I think the audio got a little bit messed up and I think it needs to be all right, hang on. See, again, I didn't know I was doing this, guys.
Unscripted.
All right, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Ooh.
You're like in the corner. Okay, there you are.
Whoops, but I can't hear it.
You have
Can
a
you hear
different
it?
color. No, I can't hear it.
All right, we got to work on that.
But the color of the headband, you got a new headband.
Yeah, well, I have 2 different headbands.
You have 2 headbands. Wow.
Hang on.
It looks
All
like
right, let's try this again.
Headband, John. Sean says it looks
Share
like a
screen. Also share audio tab. Oh, I see. Share a tab. But I can't. I can't do it. I can share the... Oh, wait, I have one other idea for how to do this. Let me... Sorry, folks.
Oh no, it's just it's worth it if it works out.
And tech problems are part of the show.
Yeah.
Tech problems are part of the show.
Well, while you're doing that, I can show you guys. Now, for some reason, I blurred out my background and I can't get it unblurred on Riverside. Anyway, I don't know if you can see this. I'm in Arkansas, and I'm in my father-in-law's like office, and these are his guns. So you see that? It's like a whole case of guns.
Whoa, wait! I want to see the guns.
Yeah, well, you can't. Again, it's blurry because I can't figure out.
That's a lot of guns.
No, it's a lot of guns. It is a lot of guns.
And what does he do with them?
Well, he's a hunter. And he goes out into the woods and he sits. Did you know? So I didn't know this because I don't hunt and I don't want to hunt and I don't like hunting. But did you know that hunters? See, when I think of hunters, I think of like you're going through the bush with like your gun and then you encounter and then you shoot. They build stands and they just sit in the stand.
It's called a blind.
They just sit in a stand in the woods and wait for an animal to come by. It's like incredibly boring, honestly. And so that's what he used to. He doesn't really hunt anymore because unfortunately his eyesight's kind of going. But sometimes he hunts here from the house also, which is not legal because they're in city limits. I won't reveal the city. And one time I was sitting at the breakfast table with him and he got this very intense look on his face while I was talking. And I was like, what is he doing? What is he doing? And he got up, he came in here, he got one of these guns. There's a lynx. He killed a lynx apparently. Anyway, do you see that? There's carcasses all over the place here.
And how do we feel about that?
I mean, he's a great guy. So, but anyway, he got it from the breakfast table, got a gun, went down. They live on a lake. They went down the lake and shot a beaver just like at breakfast. So,
and you're in a city.
We're in city limits. But they live on the lake and, there was nobody in danger except for the beaver. So, good. You get it fixed?
All right. I think we got it fixed.
Okay, cool.
Here we go. Let me know if you can hear.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, get ready with me. Pete Hegseth edition. All right, here are a bunch of reasons why Pete Hegseth should not be the Secretary of Defense. Number one, he's probably a rapist. Now, he's innocent until proven guilty, so we're not going to say he is a rapist. I can't hear. But you can? Guilty is not the traditional standard of consent for the Senate, and that what pun was intended. Number two, Pete Hegseth is an alcoholic. I really do sympathize. He should get treatment. I want him to recover from his alcoholism. He's promised to stop drinking if he gets confirmed. That's the kind of bargain that substance abuse people make. We're not bargaining. Not a qualification to be the Secretary of Defense. Number three, Pete Hegseth's mom wrote a letter saying he was a horrible person. I know she's tried to take it back, but if your mom's written a letter saying you're a horrible person who abuses women, and you shouldn't be Secretary of Defense, okay? That's number three. Number four, he's pro-war crimes. I don't mean like he's like a little bit soft on war crimes. I mean, he's for them. Okay.
Terrifying.
She's got all these weird crusader tattoos. I don't want to make too much of this, but that shit's weird. Okay? I mean, it's just weird. What was number 7? She doesn't believe women should be in combat units. What's that about? That shit's very weird to watch this without audio. Okay, so here's the second to last reason why Hegseth shouldn't be Secretary of Defense. Look, it's one of the largest budgets in the world, and this guy ran 2 small nonprofits into the ground and had whistleblower complaints about it. I run a nonprofit. It's hard. I'm not qualified to run the fucking Defense Department, okay? And the last reason why Pete Hegseth shouldn't be Secretary of Defense, he's totally fucking unqualified. This is what he does for a living. I mean, look, I'm sure he's a perfectly good, terrible right-wing talk show host. I've actually never seen him or Fox News Weekend After. The guy is complete. That is not a qualification for running the biggest bureaucracy in the world, second biggest bureaucracy in the world. This pencil doesn't work. So I'm going to use the mascara instead. It's just not an appropriate qualification, even if his mother didn't also say he was completely inappropriate for this job.
Good job. The mascara is, that's not the easiest thing to apply, Ben. Is that the first time you've worn mascara?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the whole theory of these videos is that it should look to men like I know what I'm doing, and look to women like I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing.
I mean, you kind of look like I'm not again, my makeup application skills are very minimal to rival a man's. But it looked legit to me.
Well, you would be, I think, in the minority of your gender, because the people who were filming it were having trouble not doubling over with laughter, not at my humor, but at my incompetence. And that's the goal. It should look like if a husband and wife couple watch it together, he should be thinking, like, how does Wittes know so much about makeup? And she should be thinking, oh my God, this is so embarrassing.
Yeah, I guess I'm a man then, because I'm thinking, like, how does Wittes know so much about makeup? But also, I thought when you said it was the Pete Hegseth edition, I thought you were gonna try to make yourself look like Pete Hegseth.
No. All of these are like Get Ready With Me videos about nominees. So the first one was about Matt Gaetz. The second one is about Pete Hegseth. We have 5 coming, except that the audio on them is all fucked up. So there's a Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
There's 5 of them recorded.
No, and the audio sucks on all of them?
Yeah. Because I recorded them, it's the thing about not having a lapel on dog shirts is that these are lapel mics, and so you clip it to here, and then it rubs, when you move, it rubs against the shirt rather than...
fold,
Exactly, there's no fold.
Yeah, we'll just make a fold.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was clearly the right thing to do. Also, I should put a wind screen on the mic. So, but I think what I'm going to have to do is just re-record the audio along with myself. And although, what do you guys think? Is it should I just release it as it is?
I think you should
try. Yeah, Ev is she says you should re-record. Right?
No. I mean, the audio is terrible, but I don't think we'll be able to record something over it that will be better. But I do think that you should record a new one, like a 7th one, so we know that you are capable of doing it properly, and then we just spend 5 Get Ready With Me videos that are not as good, and we just know that after that it will be better again.
No.
No, it will be terrible.
We got to go with perfection on the Get Ready With Me videos, because look, how are people going to watch the Get Ready With Me Undersea Cables videos if the Get Ready With Me nominations videos are subpar?
I mean, they will be anyway. I don't think you'll be like. There's some
Or
truth.
that's
There's
good.
some truth to it in the live recording that you will miss if you re-record it,
now
and
that
it would
is a
be sad.
challenge.
Oh.
All right. Ev, today it's going to happen that video is going to be released and you are going to text me, okay, you win. That's pretty good.
Good.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Special Undersea Cables edition of Dog Shirt TV, completely unplanned. Holly, Antti, Ev, you're all, oh my God, you have 3 different nationalities. Great American, Finnish, Canadians. And I can't call Ev a great American right now because Trump wants to annex her. And so it's actually like if, you know, calling
American
them
to be.
I mean, I don't want to play into that. So I think we have to go maximum sectarianism. Ev, you're a great Francophone, Acadian, Quebecois, Canadian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Antti, you're a great Finn. Holly, you're a great former CIA officer, American. And we will see you on Monday when we have a guest. Jody Freeman will be joining us from the Harvard Law School to talk about how to deregulate without deregulating, just by defunding and depopulating agencies. She's written a very important article about this, and she's never done Dog Shirt TV before, so we'll find out if she knows what she's in for. See you all then.
Right.